What's up, everybody? Here we are. We're at stage 1, Toledo Bend, and I want to take a second to walk you through my 2024 tournament rig. The truck is pretty much the same, but I still want to kind of talk about my truck a little bit because I really think I got the best setup when it comes to traveling all over the country. And then we're going to get into the boat, and I'm going to show you my setup this year and what model Phoenix boat I'm running. But let's start with the truck because we spend a lot of time in the truck. Traveling all over the country. I always say we're full-time truck drivers, part-time bass fishermen, and so I spent a lot of time trying to set my truck up to be as comfortable as possible. I don't have a truck sponsor. This is just I just enjoy my truck that much when it comes to traveling all over the country. I have a 3/4 ton diesel, and I used to pull all over with a 3/4 ton diesel, but it was rough. It beat us up. It wasn't very fuel efficient. It just wasn't as comfortable. It just wasn't as nice. It was nice having that power, but it was overrated. So I tried out. This is my 3rd season with the little 3.0 diesel GMC, and I switched to this truck mainly because it has enough torque to where I can put the boat in cruise control, tow with cruise control, and it doesn't downshift when it's going over those overpasses. And that's really the only reason I ever pulled with a 3/4 ton in the first place, so I can pull my boat in cruise control when we're making those long 20-hour drives across the country. But this truck will do it in a 1/2 ton model. So when you get back into a 1/2 ton, it allows you to have that comfort and that ride that it drives like a car. And then it's really quiet, and it's just way more pleasant of a drive. And then with the 1/2 ton model, I can put it in adaptive cruise control. That way, if some reason someone swerves in front of me on the interstate and I'm not paying attention, the truck's going to, for a safety aspect, slow down for me. So that's nice as well. You don't get that in a 3/4 ton. So I rigged this little 1/2 ton diesel out. I put my homemade rod box up here, and I got all my arc rods up there. It's 8 feet long. I could fit about 150 rods up there by themselves. If I broke it down and I just had reels in rods, like I start out with a lot of combos in practice. I got both rod lockers full in my boat, but as practice evolves, and then I realized it's like I could take these 15 combos out. I can put them. The reels can stay on the rods, and I can just stick it in this box, and I can fit like 50 combos at least in here. I can also fit a full-size set of golf clubs in there if I have time to play golf somewhere while we're on the road, which typically don't happen. And in the springtime, I put the guns and turkey decoys and camo. Me and Maggie will squeeze in some turkey hunts while we're traveling around in between these tournaments. So a lot goes up there besides just fishing rods, and it gets it out of the way. And then when we get to the back here, I got the ARE cap. Again, not a sponsor, but I've always just ran ARE because they always help guys out in bass fishing. So, and Britt Myers and them I get my truck caps through CS Motorsports, and they take care of us. This is a homemade system right here. I bought the bed slide to put on top of this. I made this box down here. So I got these drawer slides off of Amazon. They're 60-inch drawer slides, and I can pull this out all the way. And I got this loaded full of tackle. This is extra reels. This is extra lures that I think that I need for Toledo Bend. It's real easy for me to access, and it stays organized, and I know where everything's at. If I need to grab something real quick, I've kind of cut down on the amount of totes I used to carry. I don't want to have to climb in the back of the truck. So that was my goal when I set this design up. And then I put the bed slide on top of this, where if I do have some things in the truck, I can just pull this out and I can access everything. If the boat wasn't hooked up, I can pull it all the way out and I can get to anything I might need in the back of the truck. So eliminates me from climbing back there. And then this side, of course, more tackle. I got some tools right here that are handy. A little handy air compressor, I got some extra cigar line in here, and so I'll pull this out and I'll spool all my line whenever it's time to compete or get ready for the tournament. I put this little DD26 line spooler on the end, and I'll sit right here and spool my cigar line on my reels when it's time to compete. And then if I want to get back here and jump up and grab rods, I can get in here and open my box right here and get extra rods out or put rods up. So this is my truck combo. This is what I call this is the bass boat truck. At home, I pull my big boat, my offshore boat with my 3/4 ton just because I need that suspension and that power. But when it comes to pulling a bass boat, this is all you need. Everyone keeps asking me, how's that little 3.0 diesel doing? And I'm like, man, it really is the best fishing truck I ever had. So I'm pretty proud of this setup, and I don't see myself changing from this because it's so comfortable. I've ridden in other half-ton trucks, and they just don't have the ride that these have, and so I'll be sticking with this one for a little while. Moving on to the bass boat. When we get to the lake, this is where the work happens right here. So I want to show you my 2024 setup. This is my 6th Phoenix. The reason I switched to Phoenix boats in the first place is because it literally is the best tournament bass boat out there. I bought my first Phoenix before they ever even sponsored me, and after I fished in one, I was like, I don't want to compete out any other boat. When it comes to a combination of speed and rough water and the simplicity and the functionality in a Phoenix, it's just built for a tournament guy. And you can ask anyone out there, everyone knows this. You know, if they're not in a Phoenix, they want to be in a Phoenix, I promise you. Oh, the model of the boat. So I went back to a 721 Phoenix. And the reason I did that was because we have several river tournaments this year, and there's going to be more. There's more long runs planned out in the tournament season this year, and this is the fastest one. This is their original hull. This is the first Phoenix I've ever bought, was a 721 model, and I forgot how much I loved this boat. This is actually their price point hull right here, and it would be hard for me to say that this is not my favorite one. Out of all the Phoenixes out there, everyone loves a different one, but part of me, I'm a 721 guy. You can fish big water with it. You can make long runs with it. I almost feel like I can argue that it rides the best because of this is the hull that made Phoenix who they are. And this was, like I said, this is the first one, and they, like they say in their commercial, they got it right the first time. This is my favorite one. And if you're going into 2024, we know the economy's weird. This is their price point boat. I'm going to compete out of their price point boat. So if you're thinking about getting a bass boat, you don't have to go buy the most expensive one and feel like that's necessary. You can do just as good with the 721 as you can a PHX. So in that, I'm going to be doing more forward-facing type fishing. I have a lot of spinning rods, more spinning rods than I usually have. So they take up a lot of space. So I took one rod box. On this side, it's a full rod box. It doesn't have the little day box. And I have all my spinning rods on this side and all my bait casters on that side. So it allows me to not overload one rod box. I got about 20 bait casters over there, and I got 10 spinning rods over here. So that's 30 rod and reel combos in here. And I still have plenty of room for my tackle, and I got my rain gear and everything up here. Plenty of room in the boat to put as much stuff as you want to and use both rod lockers. So this year, a few changes. This year I'll be running the Power Pole trolling motor. This trolling motor is the one everyone's talking about. I know it's got a high price point, but it's for a reason. This is a very important tool on the boat, and there's a reason I wanted to switch to this. It's the fastest one. It can go through the most grass. I can whack a stump whenever I'm fishing at high speeds, and it's got this titanium shaft in it. But everything on this trolling motor is designed that if something would fail on it, I could still get through a tournament day. If I lose steering for some reason, I can turn the head of the trolling motor to steer it, or I can attach something right here and turn it into a hand steer. If the cable would break, I could just pull these little latches right here and still deploy it or pick it up. If the shaft would bend, I can bend it back because it's titanium and it's a one piece. And so there's a lot of really good things about this trolling motor, and I really love it for forward facing because the way that it's a one piece shaft, I put me a little pointer up here. That's just preference, and I know that this is perfectly aligned with this, and so it's really easy for me to pick those fish up on forward facing and hit them on the first cast, which is efficiency with forward facing is a big deal to if you're going to fish a tournament day with it. Um, So another thing I like about it is when I turn it, if I do see a fish on forward facing, when I turn the trolling motor and I point at that fish, it does this perfect little stop. It doesn't keep going. It's like when I want to stop it, it just kind of locks for a second and it stays there. So if you're fishing fast and you're scoping around a bunch, and the fact that you could turn this thing real quick, if you see a fish, if you react and stop, the trolling motor kind of locks in for you a tad to where you can make a cast at it, and the trolling motor foot, the water not turning the trolling motor on its own. So I'm really excited about running the move this year. I only fished with it a couple days so far, and it's nice. Getting into the active targets, I know it's getting crazy, but this is the evolution of our sport. If we want to compete, you know, we keep on adding more stuff to these boats, but I don't have a choice. These are the best guys in the world. These dudes are assassins. And so I wanted to make sure I didn't have any disadvantages this year. So I'm running multiple active target 2s. You can see I got 3 pros up here, 3 12-inch pros. This one I can remove. If I'm in a tournament where it's not just so forward facing reliant, I could take this off and put it to the side and only run these 2. But if I'm in a forward facing tournament, like what it'll probably be this week on Toledo Bend, I don't want a fish to get close to my boat without me seeing it. So I have 2 active target 2s up here. One of them's facing forward and one of them's facing backwards. And so everywhere I turn the trolling motor, I'm also seeing directly behind me and in front of me. So if there's a group of fish that get around me, I'm going to see them. And I can run 2 units individually for full screen active target and 1 for map and 2D sonar, which I hardly ever use 2D anymore. Yeah, so moving on from there, I put the DD26 pad on the trolling motor too, just because it's real nice to stand on. Getting back to the console, all I need here is 2 12s. I run 1 on map and a little small piece 2D sonar, and I run side and down. I can find everything I need there. And then I have a quick key set up here because I also added another active target 2 transducer to the transom. And I'll show you that setup here in a second. But I just have a quick key set up here where I can hurry up and switch from down and side and say, hey, look at that brush pile I see on side imaging over there. And if I want to actually see if there's some fish on it, instead of having to get on the trolling motor and point my active target 2 at it, I could just turn my boat a little bit and look at it with that transom. So it's really for the transom one is for scout purposes mostly. That's all it's for. But I have it all networked in to where I can just look at it there real quick with one push of the button. The heated seats, I got to have those. We start fishing early. You know, we start running our boats and pre-practicing for tournaments right after Christmas, typically. Sometimes before Christmas if we get our boats in time. And like this year, here we are, last few days of January, and I'm on Toledo Bend. It's not real cold right now, but it could have been 15 degrees out here. So these heated seats are nice when you're spending 12 hours in a boat idling around looking for fish. It's just, you know, if you get cold, I know you might sit there and say, what do you need that for? That's kind of being a pansy. But if you're cold and you're uncomfortable and you're not thinking clearly, you're not going to perform. So it's just really nice to help me focus on what matters. And I'm not trying to prove any points or be tough. I'd rather be comfortable. So, and you'll appreciate it when you get in my boat and fish with me, because that side has heated seats too. I got to be able to focus, and whenever things get boring on the water, when I turn on music, it helps me get refocused. And so I got the WetSound audio system in here. So I got 2 speakers over there, and then I have 2 speakers back here behind the foot throttle. And then I have my head unit right here, which is Bluetooth to my phone. If I want to listen to a podcast or if I want to listen to some music. And then if I want to get pumped up tournament morning, if I'm going to make a long run, if I'm running this boat wide open, this sound is loud and clear, and you can hear the music. You can actually hear the music running 70 miles an hour in a bass boat. So this year, Bubba came out with the Bubba Scale that everyone has been talking about. And then my boat official sits right here. And so I set this scale up to where this thing hangs right here. But I set this scale up with this little holder that I got off the internet. And so my boat official can just pop this in like this, and he's ready to go. Whenever I catch a fish, he can pull that little Bubba Scale out, weigh my fish. He's not trying to find it in the boat. And something else I did is I got this boat, I got it rigged with the second console option. And the reason I did that, so it came with this split box right here. And so my boat official can put his score tracker, his iPad, and his paper and his clipboard and all that stuff in there, and it's easy for him to access. And we can go out there and win some money. That's what it's all about. And then moving to the back here, we have the Monster Marine Lithium setup. This is what I call unlimited power. These batteries are big enough. These are two 73 amp hour 36 volt systems, and this is a 170 amp hour, what we call the Beast 2.0. This is 170 amp hour 12 volt cranking. So you can't kill this. And then they have a charging system in there that is a voltage relay that moves the power around wherever it needs and allows me to jump from 36 to 12 if I would have an issue. And then it also continues to trickle charge if I wanted to. And it's a basic system that does all that. So I've ran that for 2 years now with no issues at all. And then Phoenix boats, we ran a separate breaker system and a main. I think this is probably like an 8-gauge wire or something like that all the way to the front, and my electronics are isolated from everything else, and it's clean power all the way back to here. So that's a big deal when it comes to looking at fish and doing all that and running all that equipment up there. They're Bluetooth, and so I got an app on my phone where I can constantly monitor them and make sure that they're not losing any power or anything. That right there, I like the redundancy of the 36 volt system, because if I, for some reason, if I would have an issue with any of them, I don't lose my entire system. If you ran 3 12 volt batteries to do 36 volts, then if you lose one battery, then you're down to 24 volts. So I like the redundancy of a 36 volt system, and that right there is a lot of power. And this right here is more than enough to run live wells and all these graphs and everything throughout the day. And then I got me an extra pointer right here. This is my homemade pointer. So if you want to make a homemade pointer for your trolling motor, this is nothing but a piece of all thread, and this is a pipe hanger. And then I put a nut on here, a jam nut on here, and this fits right on. This is a 1-inch pipe hanger that fits right onto the shaft of most trolling motors. And then that's my pointer right there. So you can spend $100 on one of these, or you can just, I think I got $7 in this from Lowe's. All right, so more DD26 stuff. They're not a sponsor of mine. They make really good stuff for this Suzuki engine. This is the steering stops right here, and then they're the one of the few companies that make a really nice transom saver right here. It's all billet, and that makes one for Suzuki. It's hard to find one for a Suzuki. Not a lot of companies make them, but DD26 makes the best one for sure with the steering stops. I run it on a 12-inch Bob's Machine jack plate. That's been my standard setup with a Phoenix since I started. And then of course 8-foot power pole blades. Got to have those. And then we got the Suzuki 250 SS. This is the one that we worked on for years. This is the motor, the engine that was specifically designed for bass boats. The way the gear case is, the reliability, the look of it. This is a really, really nice engine. If you haven't had a chance to run one of these yet, I highly suggest doing it. There's no substitute for reliability when it comes to tournament bass fishing, and that is the most important thing. I don't care if you want your boat to run 2 miles an hour faster than the next guy. It doesn't matter if you can't get to point A and point B. You got to be able to turn that key and start every single time, and that's what you get from a Suzuki. And as far as speed goes, I run just as fast as everybody else. So I don't know if it's faster, but it's definitely not slower by any means. So good engine right there. Been with them 6 seasons, not one breakdown, knock on wood. That's why I love them. Oh, and getting back here, I'll show you this, my transducer setup. This all was kind of a secret, but word has gotten out. We've done this kind of stuff for the last couple of years now, but now Lowrance actually makes a bracket that goes on your transom right here, and I attach this to the jack plate, and then it'll kick up if it hits something. But I got an active target 2 right there to where I can shoot to the side of the boat, and then I have the standard 3-in-1 side and down scan right there, which is a really good transducer. That's a new transducer they came out with last year, Lowrance, and it's very, very powerful. It has over 1,000 kilohertz frequency setting, and then like another 700 and something kilohertz frequency setting. It's clean. It's as powerful of a transducer, and no one makes one any stronger. So they're competitive across the board now when it comes to transducer power, side and down, and everything. You can see everything. So there's no question with that. A lot of people ask me about props with my 250. You can either run a Suzuki stock prop, but my favorite props is either this 27 Fury or a 26 Scorpion. And the 26 Scorpions are really good. That's basically a Yamaha T1 copy. It's a big three-blade prop that goes on the back of these Suzukis, and we have a different gear ratio, so those big props, it likes turning those big props, and then you got to put a Rubex hub kit in it to fit that. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me directly. So this was the 2024 rig. This is my office. This is where I work every day. Look at all those Bubba tools over there. That's also another cool feature about Phoenix, is you got plenty of places to put stuff. And Bubba makes a tool for just about everything you need out here. But again, this is where we're gonna make dreams come true this year in 2024. I wanted to show you my truck in the boat. I know it's a long video, but I feel like if you just skip around, you can't really understand how I set this thing up unless I really walked you through it. So there it is. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thanks.